So you're building the muscle, you're building your business. It's a slow going, as logically is any building, any new adventure like that. It takes time.
Yeah.
Where did it start clicking for you? What was it that kind of got you over the initial hump where you saw, okay, I can do this. It's time to take it to the next level. How was that?
Yeah, man. So I had early success on, we can say, with a couple deals because a friend of mine ended up purchasing a home, and I literally did that like right away. So as soon as my license came in, like within a week or two, I closed that deal because with another agent in my office, we started the process, right? So I didn't even close that under my license because we opened it under the other agent's license, but I got money from that deal. And then I got another listing, I think 2 weeks later from cold calling, right? I happened to call him. He's like, yeah, I want to sell, like a total lay down. So I'm feeling like, oh man, this is easy. I got this. Now, after that, I didn't close anything for about 3 months. I think I went through a 3.5 month dry period before I started getting deals consistently. I got nothing, Borino. I mean, I wasn't even setting appointments, hardly getting any leads. And that's where, the weight of the world, like Atlas, started weighing on me. I think where it clicked was a few things. Number one, I realized I was way too attached to where, like, if I followed up and then and the person would not set the appointment with me and I'd hang up, I would like want to throw my phone to the wall and say, man, this guy's a liar. And why did he tell me that? Way too attached. That's one for sure. The second one, I believe, was I was too focused on pressing the issue with people. Like, yeah, you want to do something a couple months from now. Why not do it now? Right? Not focusing on their wants and needs, but my agenda of wanting to get a commission check. Mm-hmm. So the commission breath, I think, is what they call it. Right. Yeah. And I think when we all learn sales initially, we're kind of hyped up and we want to be aggressive and we want to close people, and I would tell you at times, even I felt uncomfortable as much as I was closing people, to where even sometimes I would get a commitment or a contract signed and I would leave like, wow, I am a jerk. Like, how did I even say that? And I would put a check mark on the sheet. There was people, Borino, no joke, I would close them 15 to 20 times at an appointment before they signed. And so I would literally shove it down their throat. And then I started seeing that some people weren't happy with me. I was getting some cancellations. And I said, okay, I need to adjust this, because if I'm not feeling good about doing this, I can't imagine how the client feels. They have to feel like, who's this guy, right? He must be the devil reincarnated, right? So those were two big things. Now, the third one was with that adjustment of that second point, it was, I need to think long-term with my business and build my database. I love Mike Ferry to death. I do. He taught me so much. The only adjustment I made to what he taught us was, even if somebody wasn't ready now, I was putting them in that pipeline and then creating a system to build a relationship and also create future business through referrals. And once I did that too, after a couple months, it started clicking, because the people who were ready a couple months from now were then ready 3-4 months from now. And I started, doing one deal a month consistently. And then that's when it started to blossom. But there was just a few, nothing extreme, just a few small tweaks. And I would say most of it was internal, because once that internal switch was shifted, then the outside stuff took care of itself.
Yeah. Now, there are many things I like about you, Bryan. I really enjoy talking with you, and I think we're going to do this on a somewhat regular basis. I would really like that. But one of the things that stands out is you and I talk a lot about mindset, because you and I know that that's the foundation of any success, not just in real estate, but in real estate, because it's such a challenging, competitive business and difficult business to succeed on a consistent high level. Mindset plays such a huge role. So my impression is you studied continuously, you work on it constantly. It's like a muscle. You cannot let that go. What are some of the things that you do to keep that mindset focused, to hold on to the sense of the commitment you've made, to stay due course and be on the mission? Give me some ideas.
Man, one of the big ones is, as cliche as this sounds, I'm very disciplined with it. The rituals, right? People say habits. I like the word ritual because I feel it's more powerful and it's more personal. Mm-hmm. So every morning, I meditate 20 minutes. I'm an avid reader, and I'm not just an avid reader. I think what's missing for a lot of people is they're not applying what they're learning in the books. If you learn a technique in a book, or you're taught, hey, this is a quick visualization exercise you can do. I know most people are reading it and saying that's cool, and they skip over it. I will stop, bookmark the video, highlight that exercise, and do it for 10, 15 minutes before I continue to read, And I think that's missing with a lot of people. that was really the focus, was just what tools can I use? What information can I grab from the people before us? Like I know you mentioned Tony Robbins when we spoke, for the video on my channel. He played a huge role too. I started looking into communication more and, studying neurolinguistic programming and, hypnosis and getting all the certificates and stuff. Not to say that I have it, but to understand the mind a little bit more and get to the core. A lot of people deal with things on the surface, their actions. I'm looking at what are somebody's beliefs? What are their values? What's our identity at the core? That's what we need to get to. Because then when we change that, it's a domino effect that goes to the surface, right? We're not going to, trim the flower at the top. We're going to go for the root. What's in the seed, what's in the root. If you really want to pull the weed, you don't rip off the top, you rip it from the root. So I really started confronting myself and saying, as an individual, what are my biggest fears? What are some of my insecurities? Like doing video for me was an insecurity. My past, right? Maybe being ashamed that I didn't come from money and being this, poor immigrant, right? I had some of that in my identity. So I started looking in the closet where we had stashed that stuff away 20, 30 years ago and saying, that stuff is back there, but it's affecting me right now. And I need to go to that. And if you've ever, I know you've been to some of the Tony Robbins events, right? Like Unleash the Power Within and all that. Yeah. He does some exercises there that are great. That kind of open your mind to those things and, forgiving yourself for your past. I mean, forgiving people around me. I started just forgiving people around me who were against my dreams and just saying, hey, maybe they just don't understand what I'm doing. And I know as human beings, one of our biggest fears is the unknown. We'll tell my family when they look at, their son or their cousin going into an abyss that they think is the unknown, of course they're going to be against it because they don't understand it.
And they're probably slightly scared that you're going to so excel and so distance themselves. They're going to lose you as the nice human being, that you're going to become some kind of a rich, wealthy jerk or whatever. I'm sure some of that played a role.
Right, absolutely. And then how much does that affect us? So people don't look at like the emotional angst that you have with that, right? So that's where I started looking, Borino, because that's where I got the biggest growth and biggest ahas, because a lot of it was just, past stuff, personal stuff. It wasn't anything technical. It was mindset and just what's going on in me, because it was a good release of emotions and past memories and forgiving myself and dealing with my insecurities that then allowed me to step into the world, we can say is a better version of me, stripped away of all this other stuff, that I'm now more effective. Now, when I'm in a tough conversation with somebody where maybe emotions are high, I'm not being reactive like I was before. I'm more of a position of cause where I can look at that person, listen intently, and not take anything they're saying personal, but help guide the conversation better. Versus before, that other version of me, you could have given me all the best scripts and techniques. I would have been reactive and I wouldn't have gotten the result. So that inner kind of mastery, we can say, if that's what we're going to call it, that's where I looked. And I think a lot of people sweep that under the rug because it's difficult to confront, right? It's tough for people to maybe forgive somebody from their past and say, hey, maybe you, in my eyes, in my estimation, you did something wrong, but hey, it's okay. Let's move on. Let's move forward. And it takes a lot of maturity, man. It takes a lot of maturity, and you have to be vulnerable. And some people, even when you do that, they still lash out at you, but you have to be okay with it. And once I started shedding a lot of that stuff, I really came into my own, we can say, and matured, and then approached life in general, not just my business, from a much more calm, centered, and stable position that allowed me to then, think more clearly, do the right actions, and then follow something like my schedule. That became no problem. If I could do that, following a schedule is nothing.
I want to get into the mechanics of your business and what's working for you right now, and what you would suggest to folks who either want to get in business and thinking, shit, is this a good time to get into real estate? Maybe not. And what's working for you that agents who have been at it need to add or do to not only survive these challenging times, but thrive. But before I get to it, you mentioned books. You're an avid reader. What should be on my reading list? What are 2 or 3 good books you would recommend folks should pick up? Now is the perfect time to read. Jesus, we don't have much else to do, right?
Right. Man, a lot of books. Let's see. Psycho-Cybernetics is a great book. I recommend people read, get you into the mind a little bit and give you introductory, kind of like a manual to the mind and kind of how it works and emotions and that kind of stuff. So that's a good book. Another one that I really enjoyed, that was one of those first ones that opened my eyes, was a Anthony Robbins book, Unleash the Power Within. I really like that book. Not too fancy, but good enough, and gives you some techniques and some things to get your mind right. Other than that, I think another book that I read initially that I really enjoyed, that kind of kept my mind focused on what I'm doing today will reward me later was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. That really put things in perspective of how it takes time. And, we have to really do those daily activities day in and day out to then produce that result, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. I noticed we're too short-sighted, I think, in general, as a population. So that was a good book to put that in perspective of, that long-term growth. So those are three right off the top of my head that I think would be good reads for everybody.
Good stuff. Good recommendations. Awesome.